Hello, hello, friends and gamers. I am Matthew Simone. I'm the Web3 Gamer, and I am here with Santiago Accomo, the Director of Community at Star Atlas. Did I get your last name right?
You got it right. You got it right.
Okay.
It's fine. People change it all the time for me, so don't worry. Like the accent. But you got it. You got it right, I think.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. And you're calling in from Buenos Aires, right?
Buenos Aires, Argentina, best city in the world. Yes.
I've heard nothing but great things. Have not. It's on my list of places to go for sure. I've never heard a single bad thing about it.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful place. Definitely. It has the European vibe, but combined with the South American culture, which makes it a very unique place to be in.
Well, that's a beautiful combination of things because since I'm in Southeast US, we get a lot of really a beautiful mesh of a lot of that Latin American culture. And then having been to Europe a few times and seeing that European culture, I can't even imagine the combination of those two, but like appreciating the art and the beauty, the culture of both of those. That's a really interesting combination. I've never heard anybody tell me that's like the combo of Buenos Aires, but that's really cool to hear
Yeah,
actually.
some people call it the Paris of the South, because it was
Oh.
designed around Paris. So the our president who designed the city at the moment took, I would say, a lot of inspiration from Paris. So
Hmm.
it's designed in a very similar way, and you have certain neighborhoods that have all the Parisian architecture. So
Huh.
it's a nice
Well,
place. It's a nice place.
that's really cool. That just gives me more of an excuse to come visit now and push it up on the list.
You will be more than welcome to come visit, man. I'll guide you around.
That makes it even better, dude, because that there's nothing better than having a guide. You know, it's fun to wander a little blind, but when you have somebody who's like, nah, you only got this much time, we'll maximize it. It helps
Yeah.
a lot. So I appreciate
Yeah,
that
man.
extension.
No, I've been traveling solo a lot, and it really changes when you have someone from that place because instead of focusing on certain things, you can just relax and
Yeah.
just follow someone. That is a major change when you're traveling.
Well, yeah, because especially like travel is obviously by nature a luxury and a cost, and you want to maximize that. So if you're traveling on your own, and sometimes you'll miss stuff. I've had it in the past where I'm traveling somewhere and I'll meet someone afterwards. They're like, "Did you go to this thing?" I'm like, "No, what is that?" They're like, "Oh, why didn't you go?" I was like, "Because I didn't know about it." But and then it'll turn out I was like maybe
Right.
like really close by it, and they were like, "Dude, it's like one of the coolest things." I'm like, "Wish I'd talked to you before I went or had somebody who told me that." Like,
It happened to me many, many times, man. I feel that.
yeah. So it's just an excuse to go back and see all those things we miss. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, honestly, you've been working at Star Atlas for a little over 3 years now. You said,
Close to 3 years. Close to three
okay,
years. Yeah.
man. So how'd you even get into that? Well, I guess let me ask this. So we talked about like you're from Buenos Aires. I don't know if that's born and raised for you, but before maybe you got into Web3 crypto, like what was your background before that, or did you kind of just that's been the start of like your career path?
It's been the start of my career path, pretty much. I have done other things in the past, but like more on the entrepreneurial side. Um, but always in community building as well. First thing I remember doing was me and my friends. We did a web page. We were bored basically, and
Hmm.
we were going to parties and stuff like that. And we realized that there wasn't a simple web page that will make bonding before the party easy,
Hmm.
and break the ice. If you have a group of girls and a group of boys, and you have to go drink something, and you need to bond together, we figured out that nothing was there in place, at least in Argentina. And we
Yeah.
created a web page, and we made a TikTok for it, and it went viral. We had like 8 million clicks in 1 year, I think, and
Wow.
over 500,000 users. We were super noobs at the time, and I think we made off of that. We made like $200, $300 only. So it was just for fun, definitely.
Hmm.
But that was my first adventure, and that was the first time that we said, "Oh wow, this is actually cool. We could do our ideas sometimes work," and it was interesting. That one, it was interesting.
Well, so even with something like that, did you feel like you had your strategy down to like get that to be marketed as well as it did, or were you just kind of like it was really just more so trying to create a solution to a problem, and then all that marketing and kind of viralness came after the fact?
It was sometimes people overcomplicate marketing in my eyes. It's just um, knowing who you're targeting and how to get there, basically, how to get it in front of their eyes. It's that simple. And we knew that we were marketing towards the young audience, and we knew we needed to get out on TikTok, basically. It was back when TikTok was just starting and everything went viral. Like everything that hit the platform went viral.
Sure.
And it just went viral almost instantly. We were just refreshing the page. And it was only we only did 2 TikToks. I think it was a combination of a bunch of things, probably a lot of luck involved as well. But yeah,
Well, you know as well as I, like once it starts like trending, the algorithm kind of does a lot of heavy lifting for you. The hardest part is getting it into that trend, really. Like if you can get
yeah,
it in there though, it's just like you're like, this is pretty awesome. I just sit back and it's just getting thrown in front of people's faces all the time. Like
for sure, for sure. And other people will pick it up as well and do a video on top of it. And it's just beautiful how that works. I think it was a big revolution in the social media industry for sure. Yeah.
no, definitely. Well, and so I mean, maybe you want to, as much as you are allowed to discuss, want to tell any of our listeners what is Star Atlas at the end of the day, and what are you maybe trying to accomplish with it, or what is it trying to be in the Web3
Yeah,
gaming community?
absolutely. Maybe I tell you how I got here, and then we get into that if you
Yes.
want. Yeah.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, so I was in crypto ever since. Like being in Argentina, it's difficult to just combat inflation.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not sure if you're aware of our economic situation, but it's pretty bad. Our inflation is really high. Like the currency gets devalued against the dollar. This week, I think it was like 25% just this week. Um, so being in Argentina, like people are more open to finding ways of protecting their income and their savings. And I would say the crypto adoption here is pretty high, like very high. And so I got into crypto pretty much when I started getting money in my pocket, and started buying Bitcoin to protect my savings, basically. And then I got, I think it was 2017, 2018. Then I discovered Ethereum, and that was a complete different rabbit hole that I got
Hmm.
into. I think it's the common path, right? You discover Bitcoin, you discover Ethereum, you discover DeFi and all the possibilities that there are with the smart contracts and everything. You just get mind blown at it. And then after that, I discovered crypto and gaming. Gaming has been a huge passion of mine. I don't even remember what was the first game I played, but it's been a, I'm a lifelong gamer. I spend a lot of time gaming with my friends, even nowadays as well. In the Star Atlas, with the Star Atlas team as well, we play a lot of games as well. And I discovered the niche of crypto and gaming, and thought, oh, this is huge. Like this is a game changer. Like just being able to own what you have in game, it's just like the perfect combination. You know? And so I discovered Axie first. This was late 2020, early 2021. Um, so got involved in Axie. Didn't like the game, honestly. Much respect to Axie, definitely a pioneer in the industry, but it wasn't the type of game that I enjoyed. At the moment, 2021, like we're talking January 2021, nobody, there were very few projects in crypto gaming. I
Oh
think it
yeah,
was Axie,
that weren't
CryptoKitties, and a couple more that they were
yeah
looking really good.
that
So
weren't play to earn. At least most of them were play to earn. But continue.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then I found Star Atlas, like diving deep. That I'm telling you, like deep research on crypto gaming. I found Star Atlas, and they only had the project was just getting started. They only had the web page and a white paper. That's all there was in there. And so they had an opening for a community lead at the moment position. So I applied. I decided to apply it. And this is February 2021. And I got the job in March. So that's how I got here, basically.
and you've never left.
And I never left. I fell in love. It was instant. It
No,
was really instant.
no, that's great. I mean, and I feel like that's a lot of people I meet is either they get involved with a project and they're like, hell yeah, I'm here till it basically dies or the company goes bankrupt, or
Yeah.
they go, I tried doing that for so long, got frustrated, I couldn't get involved, so like I just started my own game. And it's like, they're like, it's not I didn't want to do that first path, it's just nobody would hire me because I either couldn't fit the role they want or didn't have the experience, so I just decided to get a bunch of other people who were smarter than me and be like, look, if we all work together, we can make a cool game too. So it is funny to see that seems to be the two paths I notice people going.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, and I wasn't like super qualified for the position either, honestly, at the moment. And I just got got into the first interview and showed that I was willing to do anything that they wanted me to do, man. Like, just this is what I want to do with my life, and I am 100% decided to do it. And I think I was able to show that in the interviews, probably.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like, I'm sure you could at least, if nothing else, be like, I had a TikTok go viral, like I did. You had some
Oh
sort of
yeah, yeah,
entrepreneur blood to be like, I've done like kind of building my own project and like
yeah.
have proof of like making things work. So I'm sure that helped at
I
least
was
too.
no, I was also working in crypto. I was working for a crypto newsletter, doing community management for them, and I also had a couple extra things going on. But yeah,
Mhm.
in on paper, I would say, and they have told me after they hired me, you weren't the most qualified. So
Just the most enthusiastic, maybe, or maybe just they were like, well, because I would say that's a good quality to have is be enthusiastic. I've definitely had that in job interviews where they're just like, yeah, you weren't the most qualified, but you seemed the most enthusiastic and really passionate, and we're like, that's gonna outsell like skills any day because skills can be had in time. Unless it was somebody that were like, man, it's really hard. Like this person has like 25 years experience, like where there's
yeah,
just not even a
no, yeah.
competition.
Just get the role. No, but yeah, totally, man. I kind of made the decision in my head, like there's no way around it. I want to work here, and this is what I want to do for the next few years in my life. There's no way around it. I went into the interview like just very decided on that.
Yeah, I would say that's a good thing, dude. Well, then, so what does? Because I know kind of some people think of community management, like a lot of people, especially up there, like oh Discord, but like it's so much more than that. And so I'm wondering to you, how do you like think of or how do you define community management, or like how do you feel like your role extends obviously far beyond just managing Star Atlas's Discord or making sure things aren't like going crazy in there.
Yeah, well, that's a big part though.
Sure, of
Like
course.
managing the Discord is a big part, but I think it's a there are many combinations for successful community management in my eyes, at least. First of all, you need to get to the people with your marketing team, to the people that will probably like the vision and understand what you're trying to do, um, and drive them through a funnel where they know what they have to do, what they can do once they join the community, and have a clear path of also like evolution inside the community itself. So, for example, in Star Atlas, you join the project, you understand the vision, you get involved, you can learn about the project, you can play the game, you can then start participating in community events. You can then, after the participating in the community events, you meet people in there, you can join a guild. Like there's a clear progression on what you can do, which is key for community management. So going to your question, like there's a lot that goes into it. Like um, Discord is definitely the main hub, but you have to take care of your guilds in the Atlas case. Take care of the guilds, take care of events, support content creators. You just have to make sure that everyone is set up for success in your community and that they know what they can do for the project and how to get involved constantly as well. Plus, communicating with them exactly like what the team wants you to communicate with them. So I would say very roughly that is what encompasses successful community management for a Web3 game, in my eyes at least.
Sure. And so I mean, I feel like we jumped across this, but not on purpose. So we've kind of been talking about like how you're getting people involved in Star Atlas, but what I guess again, what is Star Atlas? Like what are you trying to bring to players? Like what is the game ultimately trying to be? Because if I try to sit here and explain it, I'm gonna relate it to traditional games out there and be like, oh, it's basically this, but it's not my game. I'm not developing it.
Yeah, no, of course. It can be compared to many different games, of course. Like you can compare it, maybe say that it's a combination between Evil 9 and Star Citizen, for example. But for a classic gamer, maybe some people play those too. But we're trying to do with Star Atlas, basically, we're a AAA metaverse based around space exploration. We're building using Unreal Engine 5 technology and building on the Solana blockchain as well. And we have two main products. We have the Unified product, which is in the showroom stage now. where you can just go and see your NFTs in the game already and just race. You can dogfight, and we are adding multiplayer later this year as well. Or I probably shouldn't have said it this year, but later. And later, yeah, we will be adding multiplayer, and we have the browser-based game, which is called Sage Labs. Right now, that is out. It's called Sage Star Atlas Golden Era. And what you can do, that game is browser based and runs all the game logic on the Solana chain. So you can get in there and you can, right now in the current iteration, you can go with your ship and you can mine, you can craft, and you can extract resources and sell them in the marketplace. So it's everything is run on the chain, all the game logic, and all the resources that you get are fully tradable in our marketplace as well. So it's creating this real life economy as well. Um, but we can get into that later. The big vision for Star Atlas is to build a AAA metaverse where people can just interact with each other, where they can have fun and just enjoy the game, basically.
Well, and it was funny because when I first found it and was, like, looking at this was when it was just like they just had the trailer before they had the showroom, and then really playing around in the showroom, this is how I felt. Up until Starfield came out, I was like, "Oh, this feels a lot like No Man's Sky." Like, once No Man's
Mhm.
Sky got really polished and was, like, where it's at today, not original launch No Man's Sky, obviously. Um and then once Starfield launched, I was like, this also reminds me a ton of Starfield. So in that comparison, because I know like y'all's plans is like to add in that exploration later. Obviously, right now the showroom is like you said, it's really just like dogfights, racing, being able to see your NFTs. It truly is like a showroom. Like it's not meant to be like a final reflection of the game.
No, definitely not. But it's meant to for people to already understand how the game is going to look like because you can see the quality of the game already if you get in there.
Oh
It's
yeah, it's
already
beautiful.
it's beautiful, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, it looks great, and that's why I went in the showroom. Is I was just like, oh yeah, like you said, AAA graphics, like everything looks
yeah,
great, and that was initially what caught my eye with the trailer. As I was, again, as you've seen, there's been this surge in Web3 gaming of, it's been really nice to see like AAA game style coming out, which has been, I feel, long overdue.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's needed, and we need to push the industry forward definitely with high quality products. I think Star Atlas is really doing a great job, especially on the UE5 side as well. When you talk about high quality graphics, I think that is a high quality, repetitive, and fun gameplay experience is what is going to drive the masses into the market. I think, in my opinion, definitely that is what is going to make it. And I think we are pretty close to getting there with Star Atlas, honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're also in a good time where like the space exploration games have gotten so, I mean, again, even before Starfield, just with them, I say so insanely what feels, I mean, I'm no astronaut, but feels realistic to me. Like if I was going to go explore space, I'm like, I feel like this is pretty close to how it would actually be. Maybe the tech's a little different, but whatever. That's part of the sci-fi feel of it. And so I get that feeling just playing around with having played around in the showroom with Star Atlas. And that's, I think it's a good time to be releasing like a space exploration game. Like who knows that maybe if you were 10 years sooner or 10 years later, it might be like people are like, oh, like that's been done and we're kind of tired of that. Like, there's always like a tried and true audience, but I feel like, there's sometimes waves in the gaming community where like people are like, everybody, like think about when Battle Royale first came out, like
Yeah,
everybody was like, we all need to make a battle royale. And there's still plenty of really popular battle royales now, but there's also a lot of people who are like, oh, another battle royale, like, and they won't even touch it because of that, unfortunately, whether it's going to be a great game or not to them.
yeah, yeah. And we also see an uptrend on like solo games as well. Like I love to see that. I love campaign modes. I always been playing them
Same.
in Call of Duty and every single game. Like I just always play the campaign mode, even if they have multiplayer.
Hmm.
Um, so I love to see that with Baldur's Gate. Like I'm not, I probably you played Baldur's Gate. Everyone did. But if you didn't, I'd recommend it. It's very interesting to see how you can change the story and like if you want, like you can just kill a main character, which is wild.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been great. I have been playing through it a bit. I have not finished it, but I got distracted with other games on my list. That's the problem now with not having enough time to play games. It's too much releases, and if there's a game that I try to make a standard of I'm like, I will not jump to this game until I finish this game. But if it's a game I've been really wanting to play, that's the only exception I'll make. I'm like, I've been wanting. This has been like on my top 3 list all
I
year.
feel that, man. I feel that so much. Like it's happened to me with the past 3 games I think that I tried playing. Baldur's Gate, I didn't finish it. Red Dead Redemption 2, I was playing before, didn't finish it because I started playing Baldur's Gate, and it's just that continuous loop of like just not being able to finish the games, man. I feel you. I
Yeah,
totally feel you.
my backlog continues to grow as I age, and I've just had to accept that there's no way I'll be able to play every game I want to. But maybe one day when I'm retired, I'm be like, cool, now this is where I get to play all that backlog of gaming. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, man.
Well, and so y'all said you were you developed on the Solana blockchain. Is there a reason you wanted to pick that over another one? Because I feel like the popular chain right now, or kind of maybe not right now, kind of has been for a while, has just been Polygon due to the really low gas fees, and so it seems to be really easy onboarding for people. Um, but most people I've met have been chain agnostic. They're like, look, just because we're using this chain now doesn't mean we're like, this is the best chain and will always be the best chain. I feel most developers are like, we're happy to switch if things work. And I think eventually we're going to see chains take such a backseat that it won't even be something you need to really like tout about your game in the future. People will just be like, it'll be so native integration, but we'll see. But what do you know the reason why they picked that over maybe another chain or
Well, yeah, I can get into that discussion for sure. I think definitely the why Stratless chose Solana is because of the low latency, high output, low transaction fee uh, that Solana provides, and the very very high scalability that it comes with it. Um, I would say if Solana has one of the lowest transaction fees in on all chains basically, and
definitely?
with the things that they are building, with Fire Dancer coming as well, which is a major tech improvement, we will see the output that Solana can do improve, like maybe on 100x. So it's definitely one of the most scalable blockchains. And Star Atlas always had the vision of building Web3 for real, because there are a lot of games that do like the whole game is Web2 and they just add NFTs on top, which is a
Yeah.
complete it's completely valid model, honestly. Like
Mhm.
it's a completely valid model. But Stratless takes it a bit a step further, where we want to develop on-chain game logic, and for that you need a very high scalable blockchain, right? Like Solana. And you can see now with Sage Labs, the release that we were talking about on the browser side. Um, we have hit over 2 million transactions per day on
Wow.
that just on that release and on that game only. So, and it's one of the first releases, so it needs to be scalable for us. And we plan to continue developing on top of it. And we opened the platform for developers to communicate directly with the blockchain programs that we developed, so they can just build on top as well, communicating directly with our programs. So it needs to be highly scalable for Star Atlas to develop it. Um, that's our vision. Like we believe in decentralization and permissionless blockchain systems. And we, at the end of the day, also have the DAO that is under development. And at the end of the day, the player base is going to own the game. That's the transition that is going to happen from Automata, that is the company that is developing Star Atlas now, to the DAO. That ownership will be transferred once the game is pretty much in a good place to go fully decentralized. But that's our idea, and that's why we develop on chain.
No, I think a lot of people have slept on and continue to sleep on Solana. I think they're really like unlike other chains that are just like, look at all the crazy stuff we're doing and like really touting it. I think Solana is like kind of like a sleeper giant. Like they'll do stuff and it will never be there. They rarely come out and are like, look at what we're doing. It's like somebody else is reporting on them and people are like, whoa, well, if they didn't report, how would we know? And they're like, I feel like they're really good about just keeping their kind of their nose to the grindstone and being like, we're just working to make a really good chain, keep up to our promises and work it forward. That's why I asked, because I was like, I don't see many games working on it, and I feel like a lot of people, since in the recent recent bear market, a lot of people kind of like for some reason wrote off Solana, and I still don't really fully understand why. Um,
Yeah, no, I don't either. I think there's a lot of projects definitely following the capital in this bear
sure,
market and following the liquidity, which is also fair enough as well. And maybe that's why, I don't know. But I really think Solana is a great chain. It also has the highest Nakamoto coefficient, which is an indicator of decentralization as well. Um, and I don't know, man. I'm really deep into Solana, honestly. Like it's the only chain I use pretty much. Of course, I use Ethereum, but I don't use any other chain.
not even Bitcoin anymore.
I use Bitcoin, but
Okay,
I
I was
don't
just gonna say.
transact on Bitcoin. I don't
No, I know.
transact
I,
on Bitcoin.
I had to because of where you're at, man. You know where you
Yeah, yeah.
started, but no, that well, so yeah, and that was another thing that was really interesting is your. I haven't run into any other game that has wanted to create a DAO and fully work it out. Um, and I'm curious, what was the full intention behind that? Just because that's kind of like it sounds like Starless at a core really, believes in decentralization and really wants that to be a thing going forward. But what was the hope, or what's the end game of by giving the game to the community? Does that hopefully allow them to further develop it, update it, create new things for it? And then you all just simply have input, or is the whole end goal eventually to be like, we created it, we birthed it to a point where it can sustain itself with the community. It's in the community's hands to whether it lives or dies from this point forward.
That's the idea, yeah. The second one. I don't think
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna die, definitely, because we're
No.
already developing together with the community and
Hmm.
getting the feedback really into account as well. So we know that our community is liking what we develop, of course. But at the end of the day, like the possibilities of decentralizing are huge. Like, it's huge. You can see just asset ownership, in my opinion, is already a massive thing, and why I believe in Web3 gaming. But taking it a step further, like just the players owning the game, and having GameStar serverless and decentralized as well, that is what we're aiming in the long term to do with Solana, um, will just boost that to a complete new level. Plus, the community being able to build on top. Like right now, we could be competing against our community in real time as well, in the sense of like we opened our programs for people to build on top. So someone could come and develop a better UI for our game, for the browser game, for the browser based game,
Yeah.
and we will be competing like our developers against community developers, quote unquote, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when we just when Automata doesn't have the majority stake in the Star Atlas DAO, um, the community can totally vote us out of development, and we're fine with that. That's the vision. Like we hope not. We hope that we're developing a good game that they will like us to keep building it.
Yeah.
But we believe in decentralization. We believe that as gamers, I think we have all went through one of our favorite games, just shutting down the servers or not allowing modders to keep building things. And that means that the game dies. But if you give it to the community understands and can maintain a certain standard of quality as well, which is what we're doing now. That's why we are developing it ourselves and not fully decentralizing now, because you want to have a certain standard of quality and just have a product that is fully functional before
Yeah.
going fully decentralized, right?
Of course.
Um, but it really opens up a ton of possibilities, and if you believe in decentralization, that combination with gaming is just limitless.
Yeah, and I would say that's the major thing to me that set you apart from every other project I saw in Web3 gaming right now. But especially because I feel like you see a lot of games either promise or say they're going to do a lot of things for their community, and then kind of when push comes to shove, there's either excuses why that can't happen, or there's it doesn't get prioritized. But I feel like for you all, for at least as long as I've been following you, which I guess at this point's been only about 6 or 8 months, it's been like a core part of the whole company, what you are is what you're trying to give and the experience and all that. And it's not just showroom, like, it's not just light work. Like I've definitely seen y'all, like the way you interact and the way people interact in your Discord. Like there's a very big cater to your community there, instead of just being like, some games are like, "Don't worry, we got your back, guys." Like, and you're like, you just get a random Discord update, and you're like, "I don't know anymore." That's the 10th time this has happened, and we're still going through like a terrible shit show. So,
No, no. If we say that, we'll be killed. No, but it's one of the company pillars, I would say, the community.
definitely.
Definitely what keeps us going through this bear market. I would say we wouldn't be able to make it through without the community. I will go that far. And it's just in the vision of Star Atlas, community is key. Like it's AAA quality gaming, um, community first approach. That's what we're building. Decentralization. It's um, it's in the company, and it's not only like me because I'm the director of community, but also like from the C level, especially Michael, our CEO. He has that vision and shares that vision as well. Um, and he always goes to the community for feedback, questions, and like we rely heavily on our community for a bunch of different things.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of I think when when the money was flowing in the bull run, there were a lot of companies that like that was a nice idea, and it wasn't until the recent bear market that a lot of people may have realized if that wasn't their intention with their game first and foremost, didn't realize they're like, if we don't make this like a core pillar of our game, it's almost like it feels like some games kind of do it like not as willingly as they would want to because they realize if they don't put it in, like people aren't going to be as attracted because the standard has been set high now. With games like yourself and other ones where the community is set forth and first and foremost in a reasonable manner. I've definitely seen games where um, they give the community too much power too soon and it kind of goes sideways for them. But I think
Yeah,
the idea you all have of getting it to that standard you want and then eventually, allowing it to phase out if that's the course of things, or phase to the community, I should say, not phase out.
yeah,
That's a total fine. That seems like a reasonable course of events for a game to happen because, like you said, reasonably so. If they like the work you're doing and they like what you're doing, like why would they vote your developers out? They want you to keep developing and keep doing it. It would only be to
absolutely.
the point that if they were like, you're not delivering anymore like you used to, like our developers who are doing mods and other things are, we want them to keep developing. And you're like, totally fair. We get that. And I think that's a lot of power that some people would be upset about sharing or giving. But again, as you've said, like two of your core pillars of the whole company is decentralization and giving to making sure the community has a big play in what happens.
Absolutely, man. We that's our belief, and I would say it has already paid off. Definitely, like we're fully community funded as well. Except I think we had a seed round. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember.
That's okay.
Um, but yeah, like most of our funding, I would say 99% it's community based. So we are also committed to building something for them, and we see them as part of our team. And we go even that far. Like I have people from our community asking, "Hey, so how long in advance you know about things that are coming, or how long in advance you test things?" And I'm like, guys, if I know about something, it's probably like just a couple days before you. We share everything in real time. It's in
Yeah.
real time, and sometimes I even and that has it the good and the bad, of course. Like you have the two sides of the spectrum, where
Mhm.
on the bad side is you are making mistakes in public, and some people also you need to have a high level of education on what you're doing for your community to understand that they are in early, that they will see you make mistakes, and they are going to have to engage with not fully finished products. But
Yeah.
not everyone understands that. There's a lot of people that are in the community that want to see. I would say most of our community definitely understand it, and of course the benefits outweigh the bad things. But you also have those things where it's, guess this is not a finished product, but we'll get it out there. We'll get your feedback, and we'll iterate based on that. Um, and some people would not like that. You have to be willing to go through the things together with the team to be able to participate in a community in such an early stage as Web3 gaming is right now. You know?
Well, I think it's reasonable to make mistakes of that sense rather than, something happens along the line. Perfect example, I've seen this happen on projects where they've gotten some insane amount of pre-sale money and then something nothing really happens for 6 months, and they go, "Oh, guys, we're like right around the corner. We just need like $6,000 more," and you're just like, "You had so much money before that. What do you mean you just need where's the money go?" And I can see how like a mistake like that is where either somebody's never managed like a project of this scale before, so they unfortunately don't know what they're doing, or it's just the money was mismanaged at some point. Versus being like, oh, we brought, or like somebody else I was talking to where they were like, we test all our, like their team was like, we test our game all the time, and when we did an open beta, we didn't do this thing where somebody could like, we were like, people are going to play in this certain area and they're not going to leave this area, so they didn't worry about testing outside of the area. And then they're like, apparently some dude was like, there's a mountain, he's like, I wonder what's at the top of that mountain, and so he climbed to the mountain and it broke the whole game. And they're like, yeah, it ruined our beta for like a solid amount, and people were really upset, and they're like, guys, we didn't anticipate this. But those are the kind of mistakes that I'm like, that's reasonable. Like that's the kind of mistakes you want to make, because that's people
Absolutely.
going, we're going to make the game better to make sure this doesn't become a normal thing, to the point people are like, I'd love to play Startless, but if it's crashing every time because of something, like it's unfortunately, you just get so frustrated, you go, what's the point? So I think there's reasonable mistakes to make, like you're talking about, versus unreasonable, where it just erodes the trust really quick, where people are just like, I don't know, you keep making these promises and saying things are happening, but then you keep asking for money or giving like really vague reasons for the delays, and we don't see anything.
Yeah, I think it's part of like it's the same. We're all humans, and we have to build trust with each other as well, especially in such an early environment, such an early ecosystem like crypto is, and there are many bad actors, of course, as well in this ecosystem. So it's very important to share and build that trust, so the community knows exactly what we're working on, what things are coming next, and if things don't work or we have to delay, like they know the reasons as well. Um, if they are technical, we give them the technical reasons. Hey, look, like this is why we weren't able to get this out this week. And we give them the technical reasons because they understand it as well. Um, so that kind of transparency, it's crazy for like the classic Web2 way of doing things, but I think it has a ton of benefits as well. It's harder, definitely, as well, but it has huge benefits.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think luckily too, even in traditional gaming, people have really softened to the idea of reasonable game delays. Because I keep thinking about how many games, it's almost like a common occurrence now. And again, I have no problems with it when somebody's like, "Hey, the game was supposed to release February, we're not releasing it till March or April," and they don't give a reason, and you go,
Yeah.
okay, maybe they're
Well,
working out bugs. Maybe they're trying to reduce crunch time. Maybe there's a whole multitude of reasons we don't know. But if it means the game is going to be in its best stage when it comes out, who cares? I can wait. It's fine, right? So
yeah.
I think luckily people have softened to that idea and come around to that. So I think in Web3, like you're saying, just being able to actually give a reason and explain it, it only benefits you, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But that requires like a huge commitment from the company side as well. Like having to keep a whole user base updated and cool and happy with your product or with your project, not product, with your project in real time takes a lot. Like it really takes a lot. It takes very efficient communication pipelines internally, but and how to share that externally as well. It takes being having to be out there in the Discord or in the community every day, every minute. It's
Yeah.
every day, every minute. There's something going on. I can assure you, there's something going on.
Oh yeah.
Um, and just for example, on our end, we have the Atlas Brew, which is our weekly Discord event. Um, and we get different team members, or we just chat about the project and what is going on and related to what is going on at the moment, right? And we
Mhm.
also theory craft about the future. Um, but people know that we are there. People know that we are developing, and people know what is going on. And that is really important. But again, like that requires a lot of structure, both internally and externally, on how to share things and being able to constantly share progress, which is something that Web2 games are not used to do.
Yeah.
Web2 games are not used to just constantly every week push new material out of the things that you have been working on. They are not used to do that. And we have to do it. It's the commitment that we took. So it requires like a huge structure to keep the community happy for sure.
Well, and like, so when you came on, obviously you helped scale their community to a massive place where they're at now. And I'm sure as that goes on, hopefully you have other people in place who can help share that workload. But if not, obviously that just adds more to your what you have to take care of and manage. And so I guess twofold is one, like, how do you even begin for people who have, any strategies you want to share? How do people even begin to grow a community, or what should they be looking for, looking to do? And then two, if they start to grow their community beyond what they can handle capacity wise, let's say they're a 1 to 2 man team, what should they be looking for in other people to help them manage their community as efficiently as when it was just them managing that smaller community?
Yeah, no, those are two great questions. I think if you're trying to build community early, it's what we've been talking about before. Um, Transparency is king. Transparency and content, those are the two things that you need to really be taken into account. Um, just committing to a certain degree of transparency that you will have to commit for the rest of your product life, basically. So you have to commit to it. And you will have to be transparent with your audience. It's not for every project to build in public. Um, but if you want to, like that's a level of commitment that needs to be like company-wide commitment on doing that. Um, and yeah, like scaling a communities has been really, really intense for sure. Um, but something that you will see is that a lot of people from your community will start identifying ways of adding value to the project. And what I found out is that a lot of people will just reach out to me and say, "Hey, like, look, I can help. I see you guys need help with this. I can be that guy." And you just give them the chance. At least that's how I managed to scale my team. Um, Everyone that is on my team, we are currently taking mods into account. We're 7 people in
Hmm.
my team. So we have Dominic, who is our community manager. We have Arthur, who is our support specialist, and we have 5 mods. So that is our community team, and it started with only me because we were 0 people in the Discord. Well, it was 500 people when I joined the Discord. We're 190,000 now,
Yeah,
and it's
pennies to dollars at this point.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And um, just both Arthur and Dominic, they both came from the community, and they were just reaching out to me amongst other people as well that were just reaching out to me and saying, "Hey man, like I want to help, I want to be part of the project, and I want to add value where I know I can." So it's a matter of like just finding the correct people, giving them the chance to perform, and then like getting them on your team. I would say that's the that's the formula that we used.
No, and I think that's a good formula to follow because I think when you get people internally, like who are involved in your project, and most of those people probably, you don't have to disclose whether they're on the payroll or not. But I think a lot of people when they start out, they're like, obviously I'm gonna do it because I already love this project. I want to do it. Like I'm not expecting to get paid. And some of them are like, I never expect to get paid, and that's fine. And then it's only later on they're like, hey, you're adding so much value, like we feel like we need to pay you. And they're like, well, this just makes it even better because I was already willing to do this for free. Like,
That happens. That
yeah.
actually happens for sure. For sure, that
Yeah.
happens. Yeah, and it's just if you have a community that grows, like you will be able to grow together with it, or at least that's what I experienced. Like you just have to be very present in there and listening to what they have to say and what they need, and you will be able to identify areas where you need to add value in real time. Um, I think people really sometimes community is definitely like a buzzword right now, especially in crypto.
Yeah.
And a ton of projects like just overcomplicate it. Like best community strategies to get to 1,000 users a week. No, like the way is having a product that people are interested in and being present. Like there's nothing that compares to being present in your community and listening to what they need. Like that will always go the longest way. That will always like they will tell you, we need this. This is what we think you guys should be doing better, and you just listen to them and identify ways of solving those things and just improving. You know?
Yeah. No, I think that makes total sense. And I mean, I think too, obviously, like once you scale to a certain point, it's really necessary you have those people you can rely on, because otherwise, unfortunately, it comes to, you would never intentionally ignore someone who's looking for information, or just blow them off. But if when you have 190,000 people in a Discord and there's only one person, you're like, it's just bound to happen, unfortunately. So it really is good to have those people who are dedicated in your community, who can help. If something gets passed over through your eyes, unfortunately, somebody can bring it back up the chain and go, oh yeah, we never addressed this. And you go, oh cool, yeah, let's address it right now. We have the answer. It's not worth doing it intentionally. Whereas there's plenty of Discords where it just gets ignored because they're like, we don't have a good answer, and silence is better. Some
Yeah.
people, for some reason, are like, silence is better than giving the truth, because the truth is going to get responded to terribly, whereas like silence is always going to get responded to way more terribly than a bad answer,
Silence is the
unfortunately.
worst.
Yeah.
Never take
Yeah.
that. Never. Silence is never the answer. No, that's and it goes back to what we were saying before. Like you're being transparent. Like you won't be able to stay silent. Like you will have to share what is going on every time in real time. Like that's the commitment that you're making.
No, definitely. Well, and then it sounds like, for y'all, like Web3 gaming is a big future platform for y'all. Um, but some people look at it as kind of just like this unique ecosystem to complement traditional gaming. I kind of feel like we're in this interesting area where they're obviously two very distinct roads, and they run parallel to one another, but they crisscross connect at points. So I'm curious if you feel like that's going to probably be the future path forward, or if you think Web3 is going to continue to, we don't have to say outpace traditional gaming, but grow to a point where it might compete on equal terms with traditional gaming.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think like we are already seeing growth in Web3 gaming, and there is no game that has yet achieved a fun, repeatable AAA quality gameplay experience. There is no game that has done that with character progression, like just that sense of progression overall. That is what gets you hooked in gaming. Like nobody has accomplished that yet, and you
Mhm.
already see the industry growing a lot. And it had its boom, of course, in the last bull run, but I think it's gonna be one of the key drivers for the next one. I think it's gonna be once any of the Web3 games in development is able to get into that mainstream area, like it has to be any, it will just unlock a huge wave in my eyes of new people like just interested in the ecosystem. But to go to your question, I think Web3 gaming needs to be a separate ecosystem than traditional. Like it needs to stay separate because I'm a believer that the people who came here to Web3 gaming is because they want to see things being done differently than in traditional gaming, right? So we need to make sure that we always live by that, that we don't forget the values that brought us here, which is the decentralization, the asset ownership, and the possibility for people to be involved early, build on top, and develop, and own the game at the end of the day with cases like Star Atlas. So I think we definitely need the traditional audience, um, but there are values that we need to sustain in time for sure in Web3.
Yeah, well, and it's really cool too to see that there's so many like long-standing people who they made their career in traditional gaming, and then they found out about Web3 gaming in just like the last like year or two, and now they've started their own company, or they're developing a whole new game. They're like, I have nothing against traditional gaming. I was in it for like 20, 25 years. Web3 gaming is much more appealing to me because this is something they're like, as a gamer, I've always wanted to be able to like own my own assets, or like have
For
community
sure.
input, do all these crazy things. And so it's really cool to see a lot of those people coming in and be like, this is awesome. This is great. And so it's interesting to have that like mesh of the two, where like they're strictly developing in Web3 gaming, but all their experience of like, game design, front and back end development, all that is from a traditional gaming perspective. So like I feel like that's really helped to bring the standard up really high quality, as well
Yeah.
as people just altogether wanting to. We went through that really interesting phase in like 2019 to 20 before Axie Infinity, I should say, where it was just like it felt like when the App Store first got launched and everybody wanted to be like the next Temple Run. So there was like a
Yeah.
million shovelware games, and like for every like 1,000 games, there was one actually fun to play one. And it felt like that for a long time until somebody's like, "Oh, wait, we can't do this anymore. I want to stand out. I want to make a fun to play game or something that's actually worth people's time that are going to get them engaged, not just try to get ad revenue or something like that." And I think that really helped change it as well as people from traditional coming in. But I even think about too, just in the last 2 years, the amount of news articles that I see that report on Web3 gaming. Whereas before that, it was like if you weren't on Twitter in the communities or you weren't in their discords, like that was really the only way you could find out about any of these games or know what was going on with them. Whereas now you actually have like dedicated news platforms for like Web3 gaming where people are actually like trying to like bring people's attention to these games, put them out there, things of that nature. And so I think that's shown like a really good shift too, as well.
Yeah, and there's more to it as well. Like me maybe giving the insider look from like working in a Web3 gaming company. I would say like there's definitely, at least on our end, all the marketing that we do is fully organic. We don't spend a single dollar a month in marketing right now. And that is because you need to get there with the product first in order to be able to convert users that are outside the ecosystem that will understand the product that you're developing now and that will be able to be onboarded to that, right? And it's it, it's what I was saying. Like games are not there yet. We don't have that funnel yet. On like, you get in there, you play the game, and you know exactly what you have to do, and you know that you will be hooked. Like you almost instantly know when you play a game. Like that you will be hooked to it. Like there's a clear sense of progression. There are repeatable experiences, multiplayer, stats. At least I'm a huge stat nerd. I played Call of Duty for many years just because I love to see my kill death ratio going up. Like just the small things like that the industry is just not there yet. But I feel like we're really close, not only on the Star Atlas side, but on many other projects. That once they have those games, like they will start going to acquire the masses. And once that starts happening, like it's gonna get really interesting. The traditional gaming is going to start paying attention for sure, for sure.
Well, yeah, and then we even have like in the traditional gaming, like Razer has their own Web3 VC firm. Ubisoft's trying to do their own Web3 thing. Square Enix unfortunately just tried to go the NFT route and it didn't work out too well for them. And even Immutable having their partnership with GameStop, like there's a lot of linking up that I think I don't see that not being a trend going upwards. Like it's funny. It feels like in terms of Web3 gaming, traditional gaming is trying to play catch up to like get that kind of community and engagement with people because it's just like a kind of while it isn't a different ball game to them, it is because there's a high learning curve for them to get involved with understanding how all that works. And so I'm
Yeah,
curious to see how that goes in the future because I feel like I feel like those people getting involved is a good thing because it will bring more attention to Web3 gaming to people who would never involve with it or find it otherwise.
absolutely, man. No, totally. I think it's definitely a good thing, and it's something that is going to continue happening. And they are definitely, big companies are definitely paying attention. You gave a couple examples that are huge. Um, but yeah, man, I think it's gonna be really interesting once we have like those games, um, like fun, repeatable AAA quality games, and they're going to start paying attention for sure to the industry as a whole, and they will have to change the way that they do things because it's what you were saying. Like it's a complete new paradigm for them. Um,
Yeah.
we do it completely differently, and they are not used to it. Like the Web2 industry is not used to being so close to the community, getting that feedback. It's a complete new thing, and I think they will have to adapt because if you were part of a game before, um, and then you experience Web3 communities and how it goes and how the teams communicate with the community, I would say that the quality for you of being a community member is much higher in Web3, for sure. I will have to say that. I'm totally biased, of course. But I think that from a user standpoint, like you will
Yeah.
prefer to be part of a project that pays attention to you, listens to you, that you are a couple clicks away from communicating directly with the team, rather than just trying to get the news from someone on what is going to be going on or if the servers are shutting down and stuff like that. That's how I
Right.
see it.
And like even before the advent of social media, I mean, I felt like really the only way like traditional gaming companies could tell they're like, was this game a success or not was based on sales. They're like, well, it sold 1 million copies in this first year, so it must have been a success. But like if people were like, well, this sucks, I hate this part of it or that, there was no way, unless like I guess they sent in like a letter, there was no way for them to complain or voice that. Whereas now, at least with social media, like they can find out almost immediately. They're like in the first week, they're like, the game is tanking. Here's all the issues people have with it. If we don't send an update and fix it right now, like it could be really, really bad for future sales. So it's really interesting because, like in the past, like, gosh, I can't even imagine. I mean, props to those people of shipping a game from beginning to end in that era of you spend years developing a game, spending it,
Yeah,
you launch it, and you're like, why isn't it selling? And people were like, I don't know. I guess it was just a miss. And you're like, there was obviously reasons behind it, but because there was no way of like getting the market research study out there to figure it out, you're just like, I guess we won't make a game like that anymore. That franchise is dead, or whatever the reasoning.
right. Yeah, and now with in Web3, with the community approach that we take, we have that constant loop of feedback and market research. It's constant. It's every single day.
Yeah.
Uh, you can imagine how much a product improves if it has constant uh, feedback from the users that are playing it. Like it's a huge change.
And it's
And
free market research because you're not having to go out and pay like a third party firm to like get people who you're like, are they in my demographic? Are they like the ones who would be interested in the game? How do I even know if they're just lying because they're getting paid to come show up and do this thing? Like, I feel like you're getting one organic, real market research from a community that actually cares and wants to engage.
yeah, of course you need to learn like not to listen to the vocal minority and stuff like that. Like you have to be very careful with it. Not all the time. Like the people who are the most vocal represent the community as a whole, and
Hmm.
you have to be able to, in a role like mine, to identify when that is happening and when it is something that should be brought up to the team, like for a change. Uh, you have to be really, and again, there's no way for you to know that if you are not present in your community, if you're not playing your game, if you're not out there, like just in the Discord, like paying attention to what's going on, chatting with people, how are you feeling, stuff like that. It goes back to the basics.
Well, totally. And so does that fall into like, I'm sure along the journey, y'all have run into your fair share of challenges with developing and promoting the game. And I'm wondering if you felt that's mostly just been internal with your community, or if there's been any external factors that you just didn't, that were unprecedented, or you didn't, obviously nobody plans for most challenges, that kind of just come and hit you. But
Yeah. Challenges in what sense you mean?
well, so like, let's say like, specifically around development and promotion.
Hmm. So the marketing of the game, basically.
Well, so we could say the marketing of the game as well as I guess issues. I mean, as far as I know, y'all haven't had any issues internally development, and obviously you don't have to share that. But like with marketing, yeah, sure. Like I know you said most of it's been organic, but were there ever issues where you felt like your marketing tactics were just falling short, even though you felt you were marketing to the right people, the right audience?
I think it's a constant exercise as well as a company where you have to be thinking about, okay, so this product is for who will find it attractive, right? And when to go and spend the money on getting those users to you. um, like if you don't have a complete fully polished game where you have everything that we've been talking about, you're not going to be able to acquire mainstream audience or mainstream gamers. So why would you go out there, even though if you have like a lot of funding, why would you go and do like a massive marketing campaign if the product is just not there yet? And same happens for when you try to heavily market in the crypto ecosystem when the market is just downtrending. every single dollar that you spend is gonna have like so much less impact than anything that you spend when the market is trending up. It's just the difference is day and night. It's literally day and night. So I think we took a it was a good approach that we took on like just when the market started to go down and we knew a bear market was coming, just focusing heavily on retaining the current users that really get what we're doing, that have a influence with people like people who are building guilds, people who are creating content, people who care about the project, who get the vision, who you know will be there for the long term. How do you make sure they will stay with you? Because it's a constant competition for attention out there, basically.
Yeah.
So the user retention is key. And I don't know if that was a long-winded answer to your question, but like just knowing when to focus on like acquisition and retention and having those funnels very well mapped out, I think it's very, very important. Just
What?
reading the ecosystem and what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing to take from what you just said is essentially that, as these, any challenges that come up is really shifting your directive to best meet them, however that's going to best fit your project or your community, and I,
Yeah.
I think the example you've gave fully fits how when you all saw a bear market was coming, you're like, well, sure, we could focus on acquiring more and more new users, but we might lose our current core user base in the process. And that would be a way worse blow than if we just go, that's fine to lose new users
Yeah.
potential. If we keep the core user base, that's going to do way better for us in the long term.
We wouldn't be here probably if we didn't make that decision, I would say.
Sure. Yeah.
Or it would be a complete different uh, company feeling overall. Because
Yeah.
now we have our user base and we develop product together with them. We launch the product to them. We get their feedback from them. If we didn't focus on that, we wouldn't have had that because like if you're in crypto, like the bull market, everyone is here, and the bear market, like nobody. It's day and night. It's
Yeah.
it's literally day and night, man. Like
Yeah.
nobody's out there. Like what is going on? It's crazy, and it's just a
Yeah.
couple months.
And it's really just like when things are going good, people who really don't give two shits about anything crypto Web3 related are like, oh, I'm all in. It's the greatest thing ever. Versus, who the real ones are because when things are going bad, they're like, this is like my third cycle, man. They're like, I've been here, I've been through this before. It sucks, but like, I know it comes back. Like, and if it really truly doesn't this time, well, we got bigger things to worry about than that, But like,
Yeah.
I think once you've gone, I think the first one is always the roughest for anybody because they're like, shit, man, did I buy at the top and now I screwed
Oh
myself
man, I bought the
out.
top for sure in my first cycle. Yeah.
We all have. I've
Yeah.
definitely bought at the top. But I will say that I was always investing whether it was at the top or at the bottom because I was like, I'm still good. My whole point is just to keep stacking it. I was like, I'm not trying to, if
Yeah.
I make an insane amount of money, that's great, but that's not my end goal ever. I was like, my whole
No,
point
because
is
you
to
believe
just
in the
reserve.
tech. You believe in the
Exactly.
impact it can have, and you just focus on that, which has the good and the bad. You will buy the tops.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. And so, you do what you can, but yeah, I mean, again, I do believe in it so long term and like it's hard for me. It's so funny having and it's different too because I'm in the US, so at least, it's unfair to say, but it's true that at least our currency is stable to a degree, enough that it's
Yeah,
not
no,
it's
yeah, it
not
is.
going. So
Yeah.
I always feel it's so funny. There will be times where like I always have like an emergency fund of liquid cash in case anything happens because it's really easy to just be like, oh no, I need to like move into somewhere. I need to get a new car, whatever. It's like whatever the emergency is, I'm like, well, at least I have the liquid cash to fix this or not have to do it. Whereas I always feel guilty. I'm like, why isn't this all in crypto or why isn't this all somewhere else? And I'm like,
Oh
well,
man,
well,
you
then
have
I
to be
wouldn't.
careful with that.
I
Yeah,
exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying is, and also too, like not putting all your eggs in one basket, But I'm also like,
yeah.
well, the reason I have that liquid cash is for emergencies. Yes, maybe it's slowly losing a bit of value to inflation, but the whole point is that's not the point is to grow that pot. That pot is supposed to be there for an emergency. So it's always funny to like feel that way because yeah, I agree. I'm like, I have to tell myself like, no, dude, that's what it's there for. Don't touch it.
I hide it from myself, man. If I have it in my wallet, like it's going all in into Bitcoin, man. I have to be careful.
It's not a
Yeah.
bad way to be, but I totally get it. Well, I only have one more question for you, but before I ask that, I wanted to, because it'll just be a personal question. Was there anything that I missed that you didn't get to cover about Star Atlas or about your community or anything you thought of that you wanted to discuss?
I think we went over a bunch of things. No, I'm cool.
Okay, cool. Well, then the last question I have is, what advice would you give younger folks starting their Web3 project?
Oh man.
I know it's a deeper one.
Yeah.
And you've given a lot of great advice already. So,
No, yeah, I think my advice would be to know if you're getting into this ecosystem that you're getting into very young ecosystem, very volatile. Um, Here, sentiment shifts by the day. One day everybody is mega happy, the other day the industry is about to die. It is like that. And if you're building a project in Web3, transparency is king, I would say. Just building that with your audience. And it's the advice that I can give from my position and my experience as well. Uh, just everything that we talked about before, like being able to be transparent with your audience and commit to that is going to take you a longer way than anything else. Um, it's going to take you a longer way than greed for sure, and it's the sustainable way of doing things. And in crypto, unfortunately, few people think sustainable long term, and we need more founders and projects that focus on that instead of like just trying to make a quick buck and stuff like that, which it's still a thing. Um, but I think only the people who focus on and projects that focus on building sustainability for the long term in a transparent way are the ones that are gonna survive and that are gonna make the real change in the ecosystem.
very well said. Very well said. Well, Santiago, I will have everything you share with me so people can find you and Star Atlas in the show notes. But where can people check y'all out at?
Oh, well, you can check Stratlas at stratlas.com, and we have our marketplace at play.stratlas.com, and also on Twitter, Stratlas. You will find us.
Yeah, y'all aren't hard to find. You weren't hard to find for me, at least. You were one of the top ones on there. That's how I found you so
Nice.
easy.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, the marketing is working, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
Santiago, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I'm really glad we were finally able to make this happen. I know I've been bugging you on LinkedIn for a while there.
No, thank you. Thank you for doing that, man, because like you were just the first message that you sent me was I think 1 or 2 weeks before we released Sage Labs.
Yeah,
Um, and look, it was impossible for me at that time.
sure.
But I always had it in the back of my head. Like I don't need to forget about the podcast with Matthew. So I'm glad that you kept messaging.
That's just the nature of podcasting. We just got to keep. Well, I also know too, just from having my own busy schedule, I'm like, it's really easy to just not intentionally fall off with things. It's just it happens.
Yeah.
Especially like you said, when you're like, it's not a good time right now, but I really want to do it, so let's follow up later.
Yeah.
So, but again, I'm really glad you were finally make it happen. I definitely would love to have you back on once you all finally have your full finished launch of Star Atlas. We can talk all about that. That'd be great, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Down to join anytime.
Well, again, thank you, Santiago. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. My pleasure.